Lecture 8. Kant and the Civil Constitution. In his work, Perpetual Peace, a philosophical sketch, Kant considered that no conclusion of peace should be considered valid as such if it was made with the secret reservation of the material for a future war. Indeed, a suspension of hostilities does not guarantee a lasting peace. Kant considered that to achieve perpetual peace it is necessary for it to be formally instituted, and this needed to be concretized in a legal civil state. Such a legal state should be based on a constitution which is based on three, or founded on three, principles. Firstly, the principle of freedom for all members of society as men or human beings. Secondly, the principle of dependence of everyone upon a single common legislation as subjects. And thirdly, the principle of legal equality for everyone, or legal equality for everyone as citizens. A constitution based on cosmopolitan right insofar as individuals and states coexisting in external relationships of mutual influences may be regarded as citizens of a universal state of mankind. Ius Cosmopoliticum. He investigated how humanity may be forced to be good citizens through the development of the good constitution. This idea was first illustrated 11 years earlier in Idea for a Universal History with a Cosmopolitan Purpose. In this, Kant purports 9 propositions that indicate a guiding purpose for history. Based on individual activity involved in the categorical imperative, an ultimate historical end is posited by Kant, in that the natural capacities of a creature are destined to develop completely. In human beings, that natural capacity is reason, which will be fully developed by the species, not the individual. Reason requires trial, practice, instruction, and a generational approach to knowledge accumulation. Furthermore, nature has willed that man should produce entirely by his own initiative everything which goes beyond the mechanical ordering of his animal existence. Nature has given humanity free will to produce everything it needs in terms of food, clothing, security, and defense. It seems as if nature intended that man, once he had finally worked his way up to inner perfection, should be able to take for himself the entire credit, and have only himself to thank for it. Kant considers that nature may be more concerned with humanity's self-esteem than its straightforward well-being. In this way, humanity works for the good of future generations. As individuals, we are ephemeral. As a species, we are immortal. It is by improvement through generations that we may develop our natural capacities completely. Nature employs antagonisms to bring about legal structures or governance. Kant argued that through the unsocial sociability of humans, social order is created. Humans want to live in a community, but at the same time live as an individual. The problem is that human beings want to direct everything in relation to their own ideas, and expect resistance to this in exactly the same way as they are likely to resist others. This resistance overcomes the tendency to be lazy, driving the individual to attain social worth and status among peers. As talents are gradually cultivated, we see the first step away from barbarism toward culture. Nature should thus be thanked for fostering social incompatibility, enviously competitive vanity, and insatiable desires for possessions or even power. The greatest problem for the human species, the solution of which nature compels him to seek, is that of attaining a civil society which can administer justice universally. Nature identifies an ultimate problem for humanity, the creation and formulation of the just society, or a perfectly just civil constitution. Only through a solution to this will nature accomplish its intentions with our species. Through the necessity, humans are forced to enter a state of restriction. The imposition is devised by individuals themselves because it is impossible for them to live for long in a state of wild freedom. However, once enclosed in this situation, the same wild inclinations are beneficial. All the culture and art which adorn mankind and the finest social order man creates are fruits of his own unsociability, for it is compelled by its own nature to discipline itself, and thus by enforced art to develop completely the germs which nature implanted. The just civil constitution is the last and most difficult part or problem that humanity has to resolve. The problem is that humans have a self-will, and this self-will needs to be broken. Humans need to be forced to obey so that all can be free. But obey whom? Where will the master be found? Paradoxically, the highest authority has to be just in itself, but ultimately human. Consequently, a perfect solution is impossible, and nature only requires us to pursue and approximate the ideal. Furthermore, why this task must be the last to be accomplished is that man needs a correct conception of the nature of a possible constitution. Great experience tested in many affairs of the world, and above all else, a good will prepared to accept the findings of his experience. But three factors such as these will not easily be found in conjunction, and if they are, it would only happen at the last stage and after many unsuccessful attempts. The purposeless state of savagery stunted the development of human beings' natural capacities. Eventually, barbarism forced humans to leave this state and enter a civil constitution, and their natural capacities further developed. The same may be said of states, because again, natural capacities are stunted in the same way. Armament production and preparations for war, and the destruction and depredation of those wars hinder states. However, these evils have some benefit, for they compel humanity to seek out perpetual peace and provide a cosmopolitan system of general political security. Perpetual peace is guaranteed by no less an authority than the great artist, nature herself. The mechanical process of nature visibly exhibits the purpose of plan of producing concord among men, even against their will and by means of their discord. In this context, nature is purposive. This is made clear in Kant's eighth proposition when he argues that the history of the human race as a whole can be regarded as the realization of a hidden plan of nature to bring about an internally, and for this purpose also externally, perfect political constitution, as the only state within which all natural capacities of mankind can be developed completely. In the ninth proposition, Kant considers that humanity may further the purpose of nature. It is assumed that nature is purposeful and that history has a purposeful end, and that humans have freedom within this, even though this freedom unintentionally works toward nature's end. As a species, through its own endeavours, humanity will realise the problem, or the ultimate problem, set by nature. However, as well as a civil constitution between individuals, the problem of a law-governed relationship with other states exists, and this needs to be solved. Until this is dealt with, the ideal civil constitution cannot be realised. Each state expects the same antagonisms that force them into a legally governed civil state to exist in the international environment. What is the point of developing a civil constitution within states if in external relations it and other states are in a position of unrestricted freedom? Once again, nature employs humanity's unsocial sociability as a means of overcoming this difficulty. Through the history of enlightened nations, we shall discover the means to attain nature's direction. We shall discover a regular process of improvement in the political constitutions of our continent, continually concentrating our attention on the civil constitution and the mutual relations among states. History provides us with a means of improving the civil constitution. A constitution is elevated when then overthrown. However, the seed of enlightenment always survives, and this prepares the way for further improvement. A plan of nature for humanity opens up a comforting prospect in that through the realization of natural capacities in the form of reason and learning from our mistakes, human destiny can be fulfilled. Kantian thought underpins past, present, and in some instances future attempts at equilibrium, peaceful coexistence and cooperation. The concept of the League of Nations, United Nations and United Europe were initiated through the pursuit of a civil constitution to ensure perpetual peace. The premise of the European Coal and Steel Community was peace. Its objective was to alleviate the prospect of war in Europe by controlling the products necessary to conduct such a war. Through the pursuit of perpetual peace, Kant perceives a world civil constitution. Does the EU fit into such an understanding? And what is a just civil constitution?